welcome, welcome. We're here obviously for the event, how to leverage your ICP to drive sales excellence. Before we dive in, want to start us off with a quick icebreaker. Lane, Josh, what's your go-to comfort meal?
For me, I like to cook a lot, and if I'm seeking ultimate comfort, but probably not comfort after I'm eating it, I'll whip up a kind of traditional carbonara.
Oh, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, it
Josh,
takes
what
me
about
out for
yourself?
the rest of the day though.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Josh,
Sounds
yourself?
sounds great. Yeah, very similar. My wife's Italian, so usually like a great bowl of some sort of pesto covered pasta is just amazing.
Gosh.
Garlic, pesto, little bit of red pepper flakes on it. It's amazing.
Oh, it's almost lunchtime, and I'm salivating at the thought of like just pasta in general. It's been a while. For me, I'm too lazy. I hardly ever cook. It's terrible. I get too much takeout in my life. Just like a classic like California burrito, just stuffed with carbs. Same with Lane. Like after I'm done eating it, I'm just completely out for the day. Oh,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
oh my gosh, no, it's too much food. Okay, well, thank you, thank you guys for sharing. Got some great ideas for what I'm gonna grab for lunch. Gonna dive right into our slide. Of course, today's event is brought to you by the team over here, Modern Sales Pros. For everyone who's not familiar, Modern Sales Pros is the world's largest and highest quality community for those in sales management, sales leadership, sales and revenue operations, and sales enablement, aka our Modern Sales Pros. Our mission is to create an environment for our members to answer questions they struggle to solve on their own and help them see around corners that they may not know about. We do that through live sessions like this, an online forum, and our quarterly summits. If you're not already a part of MSP, you're going to be invited to join after this event. And before we get into this event, just want to go over some quick housekeeping notes. Of course, this event is being recorded. You're going to be able to access this recording and the key takeaways on the previous events page of the MSP website. Second, if there's any questions for speakers today, we do have a Q&A function, so please do use that or go ahead and drop a question in the chat, and they'll do their best to get to them during the event. Okay, guys, that's all from me. I'm going to hand things over to you, Lane and Josh, and to kick off the event, I'll see you guys at the end.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elliot. Yeah, so looking very much forward to this conversation today, and thank you everyone out there for joining us. Also as we're getting kicked off, I'd love for y'all to chat in to the public chat, just where you're joining us from. My name is Lane Hartman. I'm out here in San Francisco, much like Elliot before me, and originally from Michigan and been out here for about 14 years now. Moved out for school and stuck around. Definitely miss Michigan. Robert, good to see Grand Rapids out there. I'm from Kalamazoo, so not too far away. And a little bit of background on me. This is my fifth startup I've been a part of, everything from very small founding teams to, E plus seed, then being acquired by multi-billion-dollar companies. So rode out many different phases of growth for companies, from private through to public, and have sat on many different sides of the go-to-market table as well, from support to sales to account management to marketing, which is where I've made my home for the past many years and few jobs. So I hope to bring that kind of unique perspective on ICP, which has typically been a little bit siloed, unfortunately, in marketing, both in the discovery and the application. So very excited to jump into this conversation with you all today. And Josh, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Absolutely. Joining from just about an hour south of Salt Lake City in Utah, originally from Southern California, had a stint in DC. I've spent the better part of 18 years in sales. This is between door-to-door sales back in the day, going to school, and then in tech sales for the latter 14. And it's an honor to be with you all today. This is a topic in an area we are passionate about. I've been part of companies like Qualtrics, starting the public sector business on the state and local front. Recently part of OpenGov, growing their go-to-market function. Actually, that's where Lane and I met each other. He worked on my team. Now we're trying to conquer the world here at Patri. So really great to be with you all. Great to see where everyone's coming from, by the way, as far as Curitiba, Brazil. And look forward to chatting with you all today.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And to add a little bit to the housekeeping there, we'll also be following up with everyone here. So you will get the recording. You'll also get these slides. And then we have a few other materials as well that will bolster the conversation here and hopefully serve as a really as an asset as you try and better discover your ICP, codify that, and then think of how you're going to apply that to get value across your go-to-market organization. So we got a couple posts, workbook type things, and an ebook that I'll also be sending alongside the information that we're going to go over today. So I will be doing my best to check in on the Q&A as well as the chat. So if you got any questions, put them in the Q&A module, and we'll try and hit as many as we can in stride, as it makes sense with the topic that we're currently on. So I want to hit the agenda really quickly. First, we're going to set the stage, zero in on ICP, not just the importance of it, but how we view ICP as a strategic data set and a strategic initiative for not only the entire go-to-market team, but the company as a whole, and how we view ICP in the realm of thinking like a CEO. So we got a few slides and graphics on that, to hopefully all get on the same page. We're going to go over what we view as the ICP maturity curve from discovery through to application and beyond, and what that looks like, how to find out where you are within that, what that means for your organization, where you're at, and then what might be on the horizon for you as you continue this journey of really understanding your ideal customer profile, honing in on it, and applying that key data set to your go-to-market motions and what value that's going to bring. Then we're going to get into the application, the meat of our discussion today, how to apply it to your sales motion, specifically your sales pipeline, but beyond even to forecasting, and then also elsewhere in go-to-market. And then this isn't going to be a salesy session at all. We do have a unique solution within the market for finding your ICP and applying it across go-to-market, and then also a platform specifically on the sales side. So we're going to just talk briefly a little bit about us, our unique role in solving some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But if you actually want to know about us, reach out or try our product for free. And you'll get a lot more value and a lot more insight into the little bit that we're going to go over today. So you're not sitting through a demo. So anyways, with that, Josh, I want to kick it off to you on helping us set the stage here.
For those of us focusing on revenue growth, that's likely everybody on this call, whether we're in a sales role, specifically as an AE or a sales leader, whether we're in enabling sellers to be as efficient and effective as possible, whether we're in RevOps or any other adjacent role, it's vital that we remember that there are costs to our efforts. Have you ever lost a deal? I mean, think of a recent deal that you've lost that in retrospect you thought, you know what, I shouldn't have spent as much time or as much effort as I did on it. We've all been there. We've had some recency, I'm sure. If you have an idea like that, feel free to put that in the chat if you've had a recent experience like that. We've all been there. And the reality is that companies and reps are losing deals all the time for a number of reasons. But when you really look at the heart of it, it's really about not positioning yourself the best way possible in your ideal customer profile. And when we look at our efforts as sales professionals, we have a lot of kind of traditional, potentially archaic things that we do. For example, we have a multiple of pipeline versus our revenue number. And we do that because we expect to lose 70 to 75% of our deals that are in the pipeline. And really think about the cost of doing that. That is a tradition. It is in some cases a best practice, but companies are losing over $200 billion per year because they're pursuing the wrong deals. And the trickle-down effect of that is something we should be thinking about. There are other statistics that are very interesting in the sales world as well. For example, when we take a look at US revenue stats, we've got a very large portion of the US population in a sales role. These are not sales adjacent roles, these are sales proper roles. And if you think of the vastness of what that looks like and all of these so-called best practices in terms of pipeline management, deal management are broadcast across this great geography in our workforce, and understanding that not a big portion of these reps are hitting quota. During the pandemic, it was only 23% of reps that were exceeding quota. Today, it's floating between 40 and 50% within some companies. The good companies out there are floating between 60 and 75%. As a result of that, poor performance and the potential for better opportunity, 40% of reps attrit within 12 months, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. So the average tenure, specifically for a SaaS sales rep, is 2.5 years. And that's lower based on different industries. So we're setting the stage here. Really, our conversation today is about enabling each one of us to have the insights to know which opportunities are the best fit to be pursuing and which ones we should leave alone. We want to drive efficiency within our teams and our organizations. And I want each of you to be thinking, if you have a book of business, an active pipeline, be thinking of a couple deals that you think you may be working to no end, that you may want to eject from. We'll talk about how to make that happen. But we'll talk now about how to prioritize and why to prioritize ICP in this effort.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. And, but to also wrap that up, I think I love setting the stage with a focus on opportunity cost here, especially in our current economic state. It's not about doing more, it's about doing better. It's about efficiency and focus. And then it's about the data layers. It's about the knowledge, the information that can help institute that focus across the organization. So you understand what your true costs are, what your opportunity cost of everything that you're doing is, and that you can have a much better focus backed by data to win what you can win what you can win more easily, and then win the type of deals, discover those early on in the process that are going to turn into positive lifetime value rather than just helping you hit your quota and churning. So we're trying to kind of elevate this from going out scattershot, trying to get everything that you possibly can, losing way too much, to just being more smarter and more efficient overall. So, on the prioritization of ICP side, I would just like a quick moment of personal reflection for everyone out there. When we're thinking about the topic of ICP and what it means for your team and what it means for your go-to-market organization or your sales organization, think back, how confident are you that the majority of your time or your seller's time is spent on winning opportunities currently? Think back on the past quarter, the past few, how many of the deals did you pursue or your team pursue that you wish you could have back? Maybe you kind of knew a little bit all along. You go, maybe we shouldn't be barking up this tree. Hindsight's 2020 right now. So think back on that. How confident are you right now in your current ideal customer profile? And then what decisions does that profile influence right now? And then how much do you actually stick to that profile? So just take a second to reflect on that, and we'll keep moving on. I got 2 slides that are a little bit more fun. I'm a big hockey fan, like a few people out there from Lansing and Grand Rapids. Grew up in the Midwest, and this quote of Wayne Gretzky: "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." I always loved it, but then I always wanted to take that with a grain of salt. I feel like the genius of Wayne Gretzky, yeah, he was a great shot taker, and a lot of AEs out there are great sellers, and they fancy themselves they could sell anything to anyone. But the genius of Wayne Gretzky is he knew what a good shot looked like. He saw the ice in a way where he knew when to be at a certain place and where that place was, so he could take the good shots. And then he was able to take all of those and put up insane numbers. So that's what ICP is about for me. It's about understanding what a good deal looks like. And it's about being able to find the good deals hiding in your pipeline, or find the good deals out there in the wild, and then having the focus. And from that focus, you're able to take 100% of those and really wrap your arms around them and give them the effort and the focus on sales efficacy. Now that you have the efficiency side a little bit more buttoned up with your increased ICP focus. So another fun slide, Jeff Foxworthy here. If anyone out there, you may remember him for his "you might be a redneck" win jokes. But I kind of view this as showing how deep-seated ICP defocus, I don't even know if that's a word, but that's the way I like to think about it, or current state may be. For these people in your pipeline or customers that you already have that aren't in your ICP, if you're talking to them, they love what you're doing, they have the need, but they don't need all the features and they balk at the pricing, they might not actually be in your ICP. It's been stuck in the same commit stage for far too long. Might not be in the ICP. That was your biggest deal ever last year, and this year it's probably going to churn. Maybe you shouldn't have gone after that in the first place. It's good to get that one bit of contract, but you used a lot of time, I'm sure, winning that deal. It's probably stressed your PS team, your CS team. Maybe you could have gotten 5 deals within your ICP with the effort that it took. I'm not going to read all of them. I'll let you take care of that, but just something to keep in the back of your mind. And currently, ICP right now, and I've been a part of this, unfortunately, but trying to fight the good fight, it's been a little bit siloed to marketing. Hopefully it's not siloed in the discovery of the ICP. Often it still kind of is, and we heard this from a client that we were speaking with the other week. Marketing has their ICP, and ours over in sales is the broadside of a barn. Maybe marketing gets together. Hopefully they pull people across the organization to arrive at an ICP. And then within that, after that happens, what goes on beyond that probably doesn't get applied in earnest to what sales is actually doing. Maybe sales has their own idea of an ICP, with their own merits. There's inherent friction. There are conflicting incentives, and then there's also kind of a lack of easy vehicles to centralize that data and then make that data actionable easily by different teams. So the way that we like to think about ICP, we want to think like a CEO, and some of the most successful organizations that I've been at encourages leaders and individual contributors across the organization to think like a CEO within their territory, but then also with a mind to what's good for the business. And so at ICP with me, the way I think about it, it's you take everyone out there and you want to find who will actually purchase you, both the company and then the people within the company. And then within that, who's going to purchase smoothly and on time. They're not going to have IT snipers coming in, finding last minute gaps within the product or security concerns, things like that. You're going to have the right trained salespeople to, infiltrate that company and multi-thread and actually get through with the deal, so on and so forth. And then within that, who's going to successfully be implemented on time, on quality, and then who's going to be serviced successfully, right? Who's not going to have a bunch of engineering workarounds that they're going to need, who's not going to have a bunch of feature requests to even satisfy their requirements, who's not going to be breaking the product, stretching it to its absolute limits and swapping support, etc. As far as that goes, who's going to be a happy customer there? And within that, who's going to renew, who's going to be a reference, who's going to be an up and a cross sell. And what we're going to see both with the application of that ICP, but then with the effects of that, is it's going to enable you to be much more efficient as a business. It's not going to gunk up the gears anywhere, every step of the process, and it's going to drive a heck of a lot of value for you. So really focusing on your ICP, selling to your ICP, servicing your ICP, the entire life cycle there is going to drive a much lower acquisition cost. It's going to make your magic number better. It's going to drive more sales efficiency. And then within that efficiency, you're going to be able to better focus on effectiveness. It's going to lead to PS and CS success if they're implementing the people that they're trained to implement and that they have the infrastructure to implement, that's going to go more smoothly. And then customer success and support. If the people that the product's designed for are using that product in the way that it was designed to be used, there's going to be a lot less issues there. You're going to have a higher NPS. You're going to have easier and more predictable renewals, less churn, and more up and cross sells, so on and so forth. I mean, even within those renewals, you're probably going to have more references, and you're going to be able to take those and in turn sell a little bit better. So, Josh, you've been on both sides of this. You've been in some smoothly running companies. You've been in some companies that, shoot from the hip a little bit more. What are some of your thoughts here?
I think it's always attractive for those of us in sales to think that more is better, and more territory, more accounts, more this and more that, even more product to a degree. And I had a very wise VP of sales tell me once, as I was a sales director and we were growing very quickly in this company. And I just said, what can I do to help my reps be more effective and hit quota with more frequency? At that company, we had a quarterly quota. And his answer to me was to shrink the territories, shrink the list of accounts, shrink this and that. And I to me, it just seems so counterintuitive. But in retrospect now, maybe 10 years later, what he was trying to say was hyper focus my reps on exactly what Lane was just talking about here, which is really the nugget or the core of the territory, of the book of business. Who is the most likely to become our next reference customer? Who can renew? Who can we acquire? Who's going to be the most likely to upsell and cross sell? A lot of questions might come and suggest that, well, there's no way to really know that. We're going to talk about how we've figured that out over time, and hopefully you can implement some of these insights to better hone this in for your company. But I really think that the very best way for a company to really drive in the efficiency game is to hyper focus on those people, those companies, and those deals that not only have the highest probability of closing, but the highest probability of becoming a high retention, high lifetime value customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Josh. And I'm seeing in the chat, there are a lot of people out there who have some great initiatives at their company right now. Anna, that's great to hear. And Rafaela, I love that, even having tiers of ICP. I think that's fantastic. And then from there, I see some application hints in that as well, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And we do have one question from Tom George here. If you don't have enough leads to create a full pipeline for all of your AEs, shouldn't you allow non-ideal prospects into your pipeline? I mean, currently, if you don't have enough pipeline for all of your AEs, that could be, a whole other issue, and just finding work for people to do, and maybe setting people on wild goose chases. But there is always going to be a little bit of give and take there, and also I will say, we'll get into this a bit later, ICP is not completely static. As your product develops and as the market changes, your ICP could also change a little bit as well. So it's about understanding where you are, and then knowing, based on where you are and where you are successful, knowing what areas in there can you fudge it a little bit, what areas can you experiment, so you can be just a little bit more tactical with that as well. So moving on here, I want to get into what we call the ICP maturity curve. And I've heard of a few people out there so far chatting in already on the step 1 and step 2 side. But this is really going to be the outline of our conversation for the rest of the time here today. On step 1, there's just the base discovery of your ICP. It's about understanding your ICPs and then running a few basic motions on that. Then on the next step, there's ICP application. You can have that ICP as a data layer that you can more broadly and also cross-functionally used to improve efficiency, revenue growth, alignment, etc. And you can also run analytics based on how closely you're tying efforts to your ICP. And then, you can start getting into, hey, where should we start trying to expand that and why? And that moves us into step 3 on ICP monitoring and tactical expansion. Your ICP isn't static. Your ICP is a reflection of where you are and where you have been, especially when you're using historic data. And it's always changing, and it's always being dragged back a little bit by historic data and also pulled forward by new deals, new initiatives, new features, changes in the market, and so on. So it's about understanding where you are now, how well you are serving where you are now, then identifying where you want to expand and how to get there. So on step 1, there are a few table stakes on that. You need some historical data of your customers, and then also hopefully some data on your best customers, your reference customers. And then you need some cross-functional buy-in on this discovery. There's some politics at play, and you need for everyone to be able to wrap their minds around what you're going for, why you want to go for it, and what they can get out of it and how they should leverage it. And then you need some time and effort, and then you can reduce that time and effort with some tools that are out there in the market's constantly changing, but there are ways to help you accomplish this. Quick plug, this will be just a minute, 30 seconds. This is exactly what we do here over at Patri. At the heart of what we have is our ICP engine, which powers RevFit AI, but it's also a standalone purchasable API that takes your historical data and then comes up with clusters of your ICP or ICPs showing you exactly what a winning opportunity looks like and then what your ICP profiles look like. And then you can take that as a data layer and then apply that throughout your organization as you need. And then RevFit AI is our platform that takes that initial ICP discovering, verification, and monitoring technology, layers that over your existing pipeline, both on the individual contributor level and the team level. And then it also hooks into your forecast and then hooks into many other parts of your sales and sales ops motion. Moving on beyond that, if you're not ready for that right now, or you want to hold off, you want to do some back of the napkin calculations, I'll send out a few worksheets and an ebook that helps you identify your ICP, or, you can reach out to some people who have already chatted in, like Anna and Rafaela, who have found theirs. But you want to think about it on the organizational level, on the contact level, and then also on the suite specific or industry specific or the individual parts of your organization that may call for multiple ICPs. So quick example of a worksheet that you could use to do this is compiling your list of your reference customers, doing it quick and dirty, company size, tech stack. Think of some firmographic data, and then I'll also think about some of the contacts within that. So that's all I'm going to say about ICP discovery. That's not our main focus here. Really what we're going for is the application. And then some table stakes on application of your ICP is that you understand your ICP or your ICPs, and then you're able to have that as a data layer and then a vehicle and processes to apply that data layer as needed. Once again, I already said RevFit AI. That's exactly what does this on the sales side. And then the ICP engine API can apply that data layer elsewhere. But now I want to kick it over to Josh on the sales specific side with the concept of ICP fit and then what that means for the sales pipeline and the sales process.
I mentioned before that we've got these traditions in sales that can be valuable. They cover us if we've got a problem with having this multiple of pipeline to revenue. And over the years, I always worked with my reps to figure out how to better prioritize opportunities. Obviously, we've got the stages, we've got next steps, we've got great methodologies out there. I'm a child of the MEDIC methodology from my time at Qualtrics and at OpenGov. And those are really useful in really figuring it out. But those are also largely manual processes that you have to figure out in the heat of the deal, which is really interesting. there's been no form of automation in terms of determining what the fit of the opportunity is relative to your ICP. So as Lane is pronouncing here, allowing the ICP fit data to be a lens into your pipeline. And this allows you to have better qualification. You can prioritize your deals by the ICP health. You can take a look at, what next steps are required based on what is there and what is not there. You can also look, as I mentioned earlier, about which deals we should be ejecting from as soon as possible. So when you look at it from the individual level or the team level, you look at the pipeline, you look at the stages, you look at the forecast, and you can ask yourself these questions with these data points. Are there any low-hanging fruits to qualify out or prioritize? Are there risky deals that we are more committed to than we think we should be? Right? The plague of sales is happy ears or hopium, as has been said. And often my time as a sales leader was really in the one-on-one, right? Deal reviews, customer meetings, and we would ascertain whether things were a good fit or not based on the logic of the conversation in both internal conversations and external conversations. Are there poor fitting deals that our quarter is depending on that we just are blind to? And then how much of our pipeline is actually a good fit? How much of it is a poor fit or a bad fit for us? Another data layer to provide these insights to accompany the work that you do in the one-on-ones or in the customer meetings is super valuable to really diagnose the real of the deal, the real of the pipeline. And for us, I openly wish I had something like that about 10 to 15 years ago as I managed my deals as well.
Yeah, and Josh, really on both the individual level and the management level here, what we're trying to convey is that we hope that you can take some ICP fit data and then really use that for pipeline cleanliness and prioritization to drive your focus, and then have that surfaced at the team and at the management level to help manage to those individual those individual goals, and what are the healthiest deals, what are the best fit deals that will actually get you over quota, hit those numbers on time and as consistently as possible. And then Josh, for this next bit of here, when we move it up to the leadership side and the ops side, how do you view that data layer pertaining to overall forecasting and overall operations?
Critical. One of the most difficult things often for leaders to do is predict revenue attainment, the timing of deals, the bombs that could potentially go off in an opportunity to derail it. And I believe that, especially with the cadence of forecasting as it happens today, there's some great tools available in CRM and other solutions out there to help optimize that a little bit. But I see a lot that's happening around a deal's level of activity, the frequency of connecting with a prospect or the frequency of meeting with the prospect, the deal stage movements, where very little is being said about the health of the actual customer in the process relative to everything else we have in the database and in the data set. So predictability and forecast as a result has been very, very difficult. So ICP application to the sales and forecasting process is critical. And I believe this fourth step may even be more important than that. Forecast predictions are critical. Your neck is on the line as a sales leader. It's really about being as close to the pin as possible. But really, it's about managing the team. As I mentioned before, the day-to-day operation, mentoring a sales professional or being a RevOps leader, helping mentor and guide the sales leaders. It's really about having a clear understanding of how to manage and how to create incentives that drive the right behaviors against the right market focus, the right ICP for your company. The outcome, as we started this conversation, is really about attaining and acquiring customers that have a higher propensity to win and stay and renew and upsell and cross sell and be a case study. And the list goes on. So I believe between forecasting and between just general management, there's a lot that can be said about applying this layer to make sure that you're in a great position to win in both categories.
Thank you, Josh. And so, main takeaways on the sales side there is on the individual level, it's about having that data layer available and the ability to lay that over an individual's pipeline, and then use that as a way to better prioritize the pipeline, to clean that up, and to understand pipeline health through the eyes of the fit of each opportunity to what you do best, what you sell to best, what you sell to most easily. And then bubbling that up to the team level is understanding overall company pipeline health from inception through to closing. And then also, hey, we talked about happy customers renew better, through all the way to opportunities for renewals, things like that. It's about understanding that fit to your business for everything that you're working on, for everything that you can pursue, and everything that you pursue has that opportunity cost, which is quite a bit of money and quite a bit of time for your organization, so you can prioritize effectively. And then on the overall level, it's about understanding your forecast. It's about understanding your overall focus and your overall health through the lens of ICP fit. And there's been a lot out there on other ways to enhance your forecast. And I think it all has a place. And Josh, I know we don't have a slide on this, but I'll put you on the spot a little bit, because there are a lot, how do you view this ICP fit data layer in conversation with other forecast, basically other forecast data, other forecast health predictions, such as, say, activity tracking, conversation intelligence, or just kind of homegrown solutions tracking stage progress on Salesforce, things like that. Where does this fit into the overall environment of what's available out there? In terms of how a sales leader should be thinking about it, or a rev ops leader.
Those types of insights that are activity-based or stage-based or whatever the case may be require a great deal of inputs to get decent outputs. And as a sales pro, there's not a lot of priority unless it's heavily enforced, which means the outputs of the existing stage level progression, activity level, opportunity health, etc., they kind of go by the wayside simply because it's not an enforced priority. What I'm posturing here is that a company needs to have some level of automated data to direct a sales leader and rev ops leaders to really understand the health of the pipeline. So this is a great companion to what is being done. I believe that there are great value propositions of having activity specific or conversation data or other types of data sets to inform a forecast, but all of those require some sort of work to get done. Deal progression data, as it happens naturally and as an opportunity progresses, will render better and improved insights on the ICP health of the deal as well. So my take on that, Lane, is that you need to complement the existing operations of a forecast with automation. And with this layer that is as true to form as anything, because it's taking from any data point accessible by the CRM and optimizing around what the ICP fit really is for the deal, what potential next steps might come up, what red flags there might be. So I would, at minimum, use this as a supplement to what's being worked on as well.
Cool. Yeah, and I agree there. I think it's part of the overall pie, and it's a very valuable piece of it. And we're talking about these other these other proxies, and then these other inputs to your forecast health, to your overall ops picture. It's the way I view ICP is understanding, hey, you gotta be barking up the right tree, roughly, and how prevalent is that actually across your organization? And then with that in mind, what's the health of your forecast? And are there risks within your pipeline? Are there risks within your forecast that you wouldn't have seen, that you wouldn't have caught, that you're staking your name on, that wouldn't have come up with these other proxies like activity that are also important? So it's about ICP, really making sure that you're barking up the right tree and having that flavor in everything that you're measuring and everything that you're staking your name on and everything that you're committing to. And then these other ones are, okay, so, with that, now we've established that. How well is it actually going within these deals? Because that's the effectiveness side. And then that's a little bit of the, do you have the right champion? Are they the right? Do they have the right pain right now? Is the deal going well? Are we progressing the way that we should? Are we selling effectively? Things like that. So what I hope that you take away is understanding the spot that ICP plays within that overall view of individual pipeline health up through the organization. So we're going to go a little bit quicker through the next few slides. This is Modern Sales Pro. This is on sales excellence, but just to round out ICP with the rest of the go-to-market organization, on the marketing side, it's about having that ICP fit as a data layer and then being able to view, okay, where are we going? What watering holes are we targeting? And are the right type of people, the right type of companies there within the ICP? And how can we measure that? How can we view leads, MQLs, and then pipeline created through the lens of ICP fit? So, we're not just out there trolling the ocean floor. We're actually going out and, line catching things that are going to not gunk up the system, but go through an SDR, go through an AE, turn into something, close on time, and turn into a customer. And how can we align the team, and how can we align incentives based on ICP fit? On the PS side, a lot of that for that NCS, which we'll get to next, is on better identifying risks of people outside of your ICP. And what does that mean for your implementation team, and better aligning resources around that, having that be clear so you have a good handoff from sales to PS. So your AEs or your managers or your directors or, God help you, your VPs aren't getting angry calls from the gold standard client, the biggest deal ever that just closed last quarter, chewing your head off because that risk wasn't identified and the resources weren't aligned accordingly. Same thing on the CS side. What's churn risk? What's a risk of being a customer who needs extra hand-holding, and how can you then act on that information? Same with product, even beyond the go-to-market motion. It's about understanding who you're building for, and then understanding how well your product currently serves that ICP, making sure you align your roadmap to it, evaluating your feature set, and then knowing where you are, having a better understanding of where you're going, and having those conversations with your sales team where everyone's speaking the same language, everyone's talking about the same types of people. So you have the same ICP data set everywhere within the organization. So the product that product and engineering is building aligns with the people that sales is selling to, and you have a positive feedback cycle within that without throwing a spanner in the works. Now, the next bit we're going to get into probably a little bit more in the next session that we do with MSP in the future, and then we can get a little bit more tactical on the sales side there, as well as ICP monitoring and expansion. This is step 3 of that maturity curve that we have, and really the ICP is where you are, and it also informs where you should go. And then also the strength of your current position. So it's about finding your ICP and then monitoring how that can change. And then as you want to expand it, being very tactical with what are you going to do on the product side, on the feature side, on the sales training, hiring, enablement side, on the PS side, on the CS side, what investments are you going to make? What changes are you going to make to expand that ICP or bring it in a different direction, perhaps up market, and then having that ability to continually monitor the evolution of your ICP and then keep applying that data layer to inform everything that we talked about already. And moving back a little bit, Robert, I love what you said here on, want to highlight that a little bit. Don't build different ICPs by department. You've seen that done. It will fail. This is where group ownership of the ICP is key. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's ICP is a collection of, it's really the people that best connect with your product and use it the way it was meant to be used. And it's the team that you've created that hopefully is of the training level, of the sophistication level, of the staffing level that can serve them well and sell them effectively. The same training level of your PS team and your CS team to successfully implement on time, on budget, on quality, to service them, support them. Hopefully that product, is being used in the way that you designed it for the people that you designed it for. And then, keep them as lifetime customers and have them help you sell based on people just like them. There is a bit of objective truth in there, and everyone needs to be speaking the same language and be on the same page. So anything else there is just a little bit of chaos. So this next slide I have, and we'll see how far this goes. And sorry for any ugliness here. I'm not a graphic designer, but I think it highlights the messiness of this. Is I have a little bit of a rubber band theory. Your ICP is something of a relic of the past that I talked about before. And, there's also a place where you're trying to take it. And then there's an evolution that it's constantly on. There's a path that it's progressing, hopefully, unless you're in a very static industry. So it's informed by previous deals. And some of those deals in historic data may be moving it a little bit more in the past than it should be. And then you have these future deals that you may be experimenting with, some of which you may be winning, some of which maybe you shouldn't be winning, even though you are winning, also moving it into the future. So you have to keep in mind, a little bit of this theory where your ICP is not a stagnant thing. It's not a static thing. And then it's also just the best approximation of where you've been successful in the past. And you have to keep that in mind. So when you have a good idea of that, and here Robert, Robert, the CEO, may have a feeling on what they look like. Yes, absolutely. I know that pulls into your previous point, but what we also have here is we have a lot of what Josh has been calling, hopium in the past of going, hey, we want to get up market. We want to get here. And you have to also view that through the lens of your ICP, where you go, okay, hey, we want to get here. Let's think about our company in the terms of ICP and how we can create the company to have that as our ICP. And then how are we going to monitor the progression of our ICP to get there? So, Josh, I know you've been on that journey before. And any thoughts on that and how, you could even take action on this or, keep it as anything other than a lofty goal?
There's the reality that there are customers that have a higher likelihood to close than others. And by understanding the components of each of those customers, the firmographics, the demographics, the psychographics, we will continue to refine what that ICP looks like. But I agree, you need to have a great grasp of what current state ICP looks like, but also have an aspirational ICP. Okay, if you do want to go up market, this is where we want to be. Can we get there? But you cannot get there without the current state of where you're at.
Absolutely. So, with Josh, I want to kick this over to you. Just a little dive into Patri, but really we're still keeping this in terms of how we serve your ICP and the application of it.
Yeah, really think of what we offer here as the ability to do a lot of what we talked about here. On one end, identify what the ICP is. So we talked about ICP discovery, really understanding what that is, who it is, and have that backed by data and rendered via AI automatically for your team and for your company. This is something that allows you to do a number of things that we've talked about already on the forecasting front, on the management front, which we'll talk about here in a bit. You can also have this other side of the solution that is the core of Redfit AI, and that is the ICP engine. You could take that data layer, you can apply it to any solution out there that ingests data. So it could be your CRM, it could be a BI, a revenue intelligence solution, sales automation, any type of CS technology. And there are four key components to this solution set that's really about driving ICP intelligence. Why does that matter to a seller? ICP is the core of everything, right? The customer is the center of our operation. We have to know who we should be pursuing. And what we can do here is rank uh, the ICP components for your company and determine every single deal, how does it rate against that ICP score. So we have these fit scores, as I mentioned, which can be applied to forecast, allows you to prioritize, like I've talked about before, your deals. We also can provide forecast predictions. What is the predicted revenue for this opportunity based on this ICP data layer? What is the probability of winning based on this ICP data layer? And then finally, taking all that data and ingesting it into natural language processing and allowing an assistant to be available to help let you know some insights about the deal. And then finally, within the application, you'll be able to see these components layered across your pipeline. So very interestingly, how does your pipeline look from a health standpoint over the coming weeks? How are you trending versus your quota? What is the composition of strong fit versus poor fit deals? Also, the ability to generate this ICP for your company and see how you are doing on average versus the ideal customer profile, the score of 100. Your pipeline in this case, as you're seeing here, is averaging 84 against that ideal. We can rank that and take all of these opportunities and again apply the fit score to them. This again is nothing that you have to do manually. All of this appears and integrates with your CRM and allows you to have the forecast prioritization that you've always wanted. And finally, within a specific deal, as I mentioned, you have access to not only the ICP fit score and the associated components, but a separate propensity to win uh, data point that shows what is, based on current data and current state, what is this deal's propensity to win? When is the predicted close date? What is the predicted amount for this opportunity? And then finally, when we're looking at, how do I get all this to work? If there's a little bit of anxiety there, super easy. If you've used Outreach or Gong or any other wonderful sales tech tool out there, object mapping and the ability to set up the solution is very, very simple for our customers. We have a great level of support if you need any assistance. And then finally, on the ICP Engine API, it's really about attaching this data set wherever you would like to have it. If you've got complementary solutions, we want to be the data layer to help provide these insights that you need. So there are a couple ways that you can leverage us. As an individual AE, you can use RevFit AI for free. It is a team level license that is paid. So a sales manager that wants to see the insights for her or his team can pay for a subscription, have those insights available. You can check us out at our website. We've got a demo request here if you want to dive deeper. I've also shared the link for the sign up in the chat. It's showed here. And if you want to get in contact with us, feel free to using this contact information. So Lane, I'll pass it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, so I think we've answered most questions as they've come through and given shout outs in the chat to some of the great great insights that we've had there from our guests. So I think with that, I am all set. Elliot, I know you're on right now, and I think you can close us out. So thank you, everyone. We will be doing another webinar in about a month or so. So keep your eyes out for that, and we'd love to hear from you in the meantime. Ideally, you're using us to find this data yourself, layer it on your existing processes. But even if not, I'm just a convert to the Church of ICP, so I'm willing to just hear you out and talk shop.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Lane and Josh, fantastic presentation there. I'm going to wrap things up now. Of course, thank you everyone for attending. Big thank you to our sponsor of today's event, Patri. Again, thank you, Josh and Lane, for providing the content. Recordings and key takeaways from this event are going to be available on our page shortly. Don't forget to check out our upcoming events. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
See y'all.